Hello, home bosses. I found a Facebook post last week that made me think. It was from a children's book production designer. She said that the most common mistake she sees from first time authors is focusing on the illustrations and leaving everything else until the end. And her point was that in picture books, the layout is part of the story, where the page turns happen, how much space sits around the words, how a moment is given a single page or two pages. And I read her post twice because she was putting words to something that I have been trying to explain to my students for a long time. What she was talking about is called production design. It's what makes a book look professional. And I'm going to share what I have learned about it over the years. And the good news is that this applies to every kind of book: picture books, journals, planners, activity books, puzzle books, all of them. And by the end of this video, you will have a simple 5-layer framework you can use on every book that you publish. So make sure you watch to the end and let's get into it. So I want to start with a story. A few years ago, I held the proof copy of one of my early books in my hands. The cover was lovely. The illustrations were exactly what I had wanted. The story was one I was proud of. But when I opened the book, something felt off. I couldn't say what. And I want you to imagine that feeling. You spent weeks or months on a book. You worked hard on the cover, you worked hard on the inside pages, and when you finally hold the printed copy, you can tell that something is not quite right, but you can't say what. And that is a very common feeling for self publishers. And it's what made me start learning about production design. And looking at that early book now, I can tell you exactly what was wrong. The text was too close to the spine. The size of the book did not match the kind of story it was, and the font looked nice on the screen, but it was too thin when printed. And the book had a copyright page, but no other opening pages, which made it feel a little bit rushed. None of those are things you would normally think to check, but together they were the difference between a book that felt finished and a book that felt rushed. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So, what is production design? It's a fancy name for a simple idea. Production design is all the choices you make about how your book is put together as a physical object, not the writing, not the illustrations, not the cover. It's the structure of the book itself. Think about it this way: when you read a book that feels nice in your hands, that is production design doing its job quietly in the background. The size feels right, the pages turn nicely, the text is not squashed near the spine, the fonts are easy to read, the book opens and closes with proper pages. And when a book does not feel right, that is also production design. It has just been ignored. And the reason this matters is simple. The cover is what makes someone click and buy your book, but the inside of the book is what makes them trust you. They might leave a good review, tell a friend, and come back for your next book. Most first time authors put all of their energy into writing and the cover, and then they treat everything else as a quick job before they upload to KDP. And that is the mistake. Once you understand production design, you can plan for it from the very first day of your new book, and your books will look more polished. So, let me share the 5 layers I now use every time I start a new project. The first layer is format. This is the physical book itself. Things like the size of the book, whether it is a paperback or a hardcover, the paper inside, whether the inside is in color or black and white, whether the cover is shiny or smooth, how many pages it has. These are the choices that shape everything else, and they are the hardest to change later. If you pick the wrong size, you can't fix it without redesigning the whole book. A 6 by 9 book feels very different from an 8.5 by 11 inches book, and a square picture book reads differently from a wide one. A small journal lives in a handbag, a bigger journal lives on a desk. So the size you choose is not just a size, it's a decision about how and where the book will be used. For picture books, think about your story. A quiet bedtime story often works well as a square book. An adventure story often works well as a wide book, and for journals and planners, think about where the reader will use it before you pick the size. A pocket journal works at 5 by 8 or 6 by 9 inches, and a desk journal works at 7 by 10 or 8 by 10 inches. An activity book for children works well at 8.5 by 11 inches. So, layer one is format, the physical book, so get that right from the start. The second layer is frame. This is the empty space inside the book where your content sits. Imagine each page as a window. The frame is the empty border around the content, things like the margins, the space at the top, bottom, sides, and near the spine. And the most important part of this layer is something called the gutter. The gutter is the inside margin closest to the spine of the book. And this is where most self published books fail. Books bind tighter than people expect. So if your text or your illustration is too close to the spine, the book swallows it, and the reader has to force the book open to see properly, or they cannot see at all. For low content books, this matters even more. If someone cannot comfortably write near the spine of a journal, the book is broken. It does not matter how lovely the cover is. Amazon KDP has minimum gutter sizes based on how many pages your book has. And I will keep this simple. The more pages your book has, the bigger the gutter needs to be. For most low content books with up to 150 pages, the minimum gutter is 0.375 inches. For longer books, it gets bigger. I will put a link to the KDP guidelines in the description so you can check the exact numbers for your book. There are two other things to think about in this layer. The first is called bleed. If any part of your design goes all the way to the edge of the page, you need extra space past the edge so that the printer can cut the page cleanly. This stops you getting white lines on the edge of your book. And the second is the safe area. Keep your important content at least a quarter of an inch inside the edge of the page. And this stops anything important getting cut off when the page is trimmed. The easiest way to check this layer on your existing books is to print a proof copy. Open it flat on a table. Can you see every word and every important part of the illustration near the spine? If not, you have a frame problem. So layer two is frame, the space around your content. Pay close attention to the gutter. The third layer is flow. This is the rhythm of the book, how it moves from start to finish. Every book has a flow, whether you plan one or not. The question is whether the flow is the one you wanted. For picture books, the page turn is one of the most powerful tools you have. It is where you can create surprise. It's where the reader pauses before something happens. Strong picture books are planned around the page turns from the very beginning. For low content books, flow is what stops a 90-day journal from feeling like 90 identical pages. It is the section dividers, the milestone pages, the reflection spreads. These are what gives the user a feeling of progress. They feel like they are on a journey. So, my best advice for this layer is to plan the structure of your book before you design any of the pages. Ask yourself, where does the reader pause? Where does something change? Where does it feel like progress is being made? So plan that first and then build the pages around it. So layer three is flow, the rhythm of the book. The fourth layer is type. This is everything about the words on the page, the fonts you use, the size of the text, the spacing between the lines, the order of importance. The font you choose tells the reader what kind of book this is before they read a single word. A chunky, rounded font feels playful. A delicate, flowing font feels elegant. pick the wrong font and the book sends the wrong signal. And the other thing that matters is order. The reader's eye should know what to look at first. If your prompts and your dates and your page numbers all look the same, the page feels a bit cluttered. So my advice for this layer is to use no more than 2 fonts inside your book, one for headers and titles and another one for the body text. Make important things bigger or bolder, make less important things smaller. Use size and weight to show what matters, not extra fonts. For free fonts that you can use commercially, I use Google Fonts and Font Squirrel. Always check the license on each font before you use it in a book you will sell. So layer 4 is type, the words on the page. The fifth and final layer is frame pieces. These are the pages that open and close your book. Things like the title page, the copyright page, a dedication, an author bio at the back, a page showing your other books. So these are quiet pages, but they make a huge difference. They are the difference between a book that feels finished and a book that feels rushed. Most self published books I see are missing 2 or 3 of these pages. But the good news is that this is one of the easiest things to fix on a book you have already published. The minimum every book needs is a title page with your book title and your name, and a copyright page with your copyright notice, your publishing name, and a line that says all rights reserved. Also, I recommend adding a dedication, even just one line. It just sets a personal tone. And for activity books and journals, add a how to use it page. This tells the reader exactly how to get the most from the book. And at the back, always include a short author bio with where readers can find you online, and a page showing your other books. This is prime space for selling to a reader who has just enjoyed your book. So most authors leave these pages blank, and it's a missed opportunity. So layer 5 is frame pieces, the opening and closing pages. And let me quickly recap the 5 layers. Layer 1, format, is the physical book. Layer 2, frame, that's the space inside it. And layer 3, flow, the rhythm of the book. Layer 4 is type, and they're the words on the page. And layer 5 is the frame pieces. Those are the opening and closing pages. So when you are starting a new book, work through the layers in this order: format, frame, flow, type, frame pieces. Each layer builds on the one before. But when you are checking a book that you've already published, work backwards. Start with frame pieces because those are the easiest to fix. Then look at type, then flow, then frame. Save format for the last because changing it usually means redesigning the whole book. So you do not have to redo your existing books, but once you start seeing them through the 5 layers, you will notice things that you can do differently next time. And the next book will be a little bit more polished, and the next one after that more again. So that is how my books have improved over the years. None of this has happened overnight. I'm still learning. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps with the channel. And if you want to learn more about self-publishing, I share new videos every week. You can also find this topic and other resources inside my HomeBoss Academy membership, and I'll leave a link below the video. I've actually created a mini course inside the membership that talks exactly how to create more professional looking books. And I think that is something that we should all learn to do properly so that our books start selling even more. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever held a book that you've created and you self-published and felt that something was a little bit off? And which of these 5 layers do you think you need to work on the most? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of your business and take care of yourself. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.